My name is Imelda Fidelis Williams. I was born in Marigot, St. John's, Grenada, West Indies. To my father, Hewitt Billy Joseph. My mother, Emily Veronica McSween Langine.
What year was it?
I was born 1933 on the 22nd of April.
Do you recall if it was a rainy day or a sunny day?
No, I think they told me I was born on a Saturday morning, and my grandmother had went out to work, and my Uncle George was home with my mother when I was born.
And how many brothers and sisters did you have?
I only had one brother before me. He was born 3 years before me, they said, some date in July. But he died as a baby. And I'm the only child of my mother. But I have two other brothers by my father after me, named Pierre and Peter Billy.
Do you recall the times growing up, your school days? What were your school days like?
Oh, my school days was very nice. I used to go to Grand Roy Government School. My headmaster was Mr. Eustace Louison.
Any relative to Theophilus Louison, uncle in there?
Yes, there was some kind of family to the Louison.
What sort of, what was the teaching like in those days? Were the teachers very dedicated?
Yes, very, very dedicated.
And the quality of education, can you describe it?
It was very good. The quality of education was very good because you could have stayed in that school and even pursue a career like if you went to college.
Yep.
I could remember years ago, they used to have a program, what is CWV, something towards it, because my cousin, Gilbert McSween, had went away through taking some exam in that program, and he went away to England. And he studied there. He studied in agriculture. And he came back. After many years, I haven't seen him, but I spoke to him on the phone. He came back to Grenada as Dr. Gilbert McSween.
Okay. So the education was very sound.
Yes, it was very sound.
In relation to your education, did you take any special classes to find any special areas?
No, when we was taking the CWC thing, they had a program and I went to Grove, St. John, and sat an exam. And I had the time leave before to go to Trinidad when my mother sent for me.
Okay. Now, what about your friends as you were growing up? Do you remember any special friends you can talk about? Like
I had a friend named Alma Adonis. She lives in Trinidad right now.
she was like a school day friend?
Yes, I was a school friend. And then we was, personal friend otherwise. We was very, thing to each other. We made first communion together.
Confirmation?
We confirmed together.
So that tells me you were, what was your religion then?
Roman Catholic.
Yeah. And today, are you a Roman Catholic still?
No, I'm practicing spiritual Baptist.
Okay. Tell us about how the practice changed from the Roman Catholic. How did you move from Roman Catholic to spiritual Baptist?
Well, what really happened to me, at the age of 7, we were studying for dictation under a mango tree at the Grand Ride Government School. And something very thing happened to me. I felt something was coming from the sole of my feet. And then, you know, I find it strange, and I started to tremble. And when I started to tremble, when the thing reached to my thigh, so I felt a hand pass over my face. And then I didn't know nothing again. They said that the schoolmaster, the teacher, sent bigger boys to catch up with me. And they couldn't catch up with me until I reached how much miles in a place called Douglaston Bridge, going to Guelph. And that is where I stopped, and they said a man was coming from the garden or the mountain, wherever, with his donkey and his baskets on the donkey. And when he met me, I stopped, and he spoke to me in a language, and I answered him, they said.
And that was in English?
No, it wasn't English. Then he went down to the river on the side there, and he picked 2 or 3 cocoa leaves, and he took water in it. And he was speaking the language, and they said he gave me to drink. And after I drank, they say, I cut myself, and we all walked back to Grand Ride to go on to the government school. Where was that time they didn't build a new school that they're in right now.
So how old were you at that time approximately?
At that time I was 7 years old.
So that's a very early experience.
Yes, it was. So through this thing, it used to happen to me now, like every Thursday morning from 3 o'clock. And I used to live with my father's mother, and she couldn't understand it. She begged my mother, she either come for me or send for me.
What was your father's mother's name?
Emilia Joseph, but we used to call she Miss Millie.
So did your mother eventually send for you?
Yes, she did. She sent for me,
Who
and
sent for you?
she sent for me because one of her neighbors was just live with by her in Trinidad next door. He was coming to Grenada. His name Mr. What? I know he was Mr. Edward. And we traveled, at that time was by boat. We traveled to Trinidad. And I arrived in Trinidad, I can't remember the date exactly, but it was April month in 1949.
What was it like when you arrived in Trinidad?
Oh, it was, it was strange. It was, thing. I met people who I knew, some people who I knew, like Uncle Babsy McSween.
And as you spent time in Trinidad, did you learn of any other important family members there while you were there in Trinidad, or was everybody left back in Grenada?
Some was in Grenada, and some was in Trinidad.
Who do you recall was in Trinidad?
My mother's brother, which is George McSween Joseph. My father's brother was Alexander Joseph. He was living Point Fontaine. Then I met a cousin of mine named Matilda McSween, which was my my grandmother's brother daughter.
So that was like a great aunt?
No, she was my mother's cousin's daughter. My mother's uncle's daughter, Matilda.
Matilda McSween.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're talking about McSween. Make the connection with the McSween. Tell us about the McSween. Where you first met the McSween name, how does it come down, how far you can relate to the McSween name?
Well, as far as I could relate to the McSween name, they said my great-grandfather was a McSween. And then he had with his wife, which is Missy Harry, they used to call she Magrinty. And she had sons, Joseph McSween, which you call him Uncle Lyco. Then she had one was living in Pedmota named Hubert McSween, which call him Uncle Compare. Then they said my grandmother had the name Amy, but she was a twin and they used to call her Amy at home, but her name was Elizabeth. And her twin sister, they said, was Amy and Amy, what, wait. Amy and Kami.
So one is Kame and one is
Was Amy. Yeah, but Amy, I know she name was Elizabeth McSween.
Okay. Where did Kame move to?
Maybe she died, I don't know. I didn't ever know her. They said she was a twin, and she had a sister named Kami, and she was Amy.
You never met her?
No.
When did Amy die? Do you recall?
Oh boy. I can't remember the year, but I remember when she died because I could remember my father was going to get married in a place named Munich. That is what, St. Andrew, somewhere there. Munich, he was going to get married. And Amy was sick at the time because she was suffering with kidneys. And before we go up to the wedding, because Amy and my father's mother used to do good, like, you know. And Amy used to call she Tan Millie, and she would call she Tan Amy. And she tells she, Tan Millie, make us go to Hewitt wedding and come back and comb me here for me. That was some date in September, I can't remember the year. But we went to the wedding and we came back. And when we came back, this Sunday night, the Monday morning, my grandmother died.
How old were you at that time, you think? Approximately.
Was he about 9 or 10? She died that morning. She died 10 o'clock that Monday morning. I could remember because they buried she the next day, 10 o'clock.
Next day. You have a wonderful memory.
Thank you.
Yes. How does it feel remembering all these events and
You sometimes it bring a sadness, sometimes it bring joy, because I could remember at that time when she died, they used to have them in the house. The dead used to be in the house. And I went and lie down on the bed near to my dead grandmother. Uncle George was on the bed by his mother. He roll, he ball, he roll, he ball. He didn't used to call she no ma. He used to say, Amy. I remember at that time, Tanti Cody had a children. Wilma was there. She was young, but she was there. Mintrude, and she had a son named Butlin.
And they were all there.
We were all there.
Where was Yvonne?
Yvonne wasn't born yet.
Okay.
Yvonne wasn't born yet. Yvonne was born in Fountain
Okay. And your mother, Emily, where was she? Was she in Trinidad already?
Yeah, she was living in Trinidad. She came home. She came home when Ma was sick. Before, when she came home, when Uncle James passed off. Then, for the funeral, they didn't buy no coffin or casket in the funeral agency. Uncle Lyko built her coffin. I could remember it as today. And they covered it over with a purple material, but was very rich.
So you did a good job.
Yes, he did a very marvelous job.
You mentioned Uncle James had passed away.
Yes, Uncle James had passed away, must be a year before, 2 years before. Because he was in Trinidad. And he took sick. And he went back to Grenada. And he was there. He had an operation. And he died on the operating table.
Now, James, is he one of the children of Amy?
Yes.
Tell us about the children of Amy, all her children in order. First,
she had Emily, which is my mother. Maybe she had other children before or after. Then she had Cody, which I think Cody used to carry. Veronica, but I think Veronica was my mother's name. And Cody was Agatha. You understand?
yes.
So, then she had James. She had James. And then she had George, which was her last child. I don't know, she must have in between, but I know George was her last baby.
What was it like for you after those changes when you moved from Grenada to Trinidad?
It was nice, it was good.
Were you a teenager then at that time?
Yes, I was.
What was teenage life like?
Teenage life was good. It was nice. Then, I'm the only child from my mother. And I could remember my mother grew up with a young man in Grenada, whose name was John Chachet. And they met up in Trinidad. And he used to conduct African rituals. And he gave me a name, he used to call me Moyon. And I used to tell people that is my uncle. It means you won.
Is that a French or patois word?
A patois or a French word,
Tell us about we talk about the teenagers. Do you do you remember like what was your love life like teenage, your first love?
I had a first love, his name, Frank. Oh, God. Frank Humphrey.
What kind of guy was Frank and how much did you like him?
I like him very much. He was a mother, one child too.
In the same Was he in the same village as you?
Yes, we used to live up Lavender up the hill. He was living lower in Irving Lane.
Over the alley?
Yes, he was living there. But I was living on Joe Betsy Hill, but we was overlooking them down where their house was.
So when you went to Grenada, you had no boyfriends at that time then?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Now, so then you settled into Trinidad. Did you go to school in Trinidad too? Or you did all your schooling in Grenada?
I did all my schooling in that, but then I went to commercial school.
In Trinidad?
Mm-hmm.
Which school, tell us about it. Which school and how long you went to the commercial school?
Let me see. Belmont. Oxford.
Oxford.
Commercial school.
Mm-hmm.
Belmont.
Yeah. So you were like an office clerk trained?
It was training for office clerk, but afterwards,
You didn't stick with it? Okay. Now, so you got married and you had your children.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your marriage and the children.
I met my husband in 1958. I went to a wedding in Faizabad, and I met him. But a few months after, my father went to conduct a feast, an African feast for his uncle. That is when we get reacquainted. And he asked for my hands in marriage.
What was it like? Were you surprised or?
I was surprised, but then I told him, I said, well, you know, you have to come down sour where we live. He said, all right, he would come. And he did ask my mother for my hand in marriage. But at that time, I wasn't even thinking much about marriage. You know, I put him off, put him off, put him off. And my mother didn't give him no answer because she knew I was fickle-minded. But when I decided to say yes, then she replied. And we got engaged for 1 year.
What year was that?
We got engaged 1959 in January, and we married 1960, January the 3rd.
What was his name?
Marvin Williams. Well, really speaking, we have 2 girls and 2 boys. But I have an extended son, which had to be my first child, really. He was my first cousin's son, and she died when he was 10 months old.
What's her name?
Her name was Rebecca Book, what we used to call she home Mintrude.
She had a first son, and his son was, what's his name?
No, she had that son, but she had a first child, which is Idia. Then she made he. And his name is Kurt. I gave him name. Kurt Bernard. I did not officially adopt him, yet, but he always carries William at school. He went to private school as Scott Williams. He went to Sawa RC School, St. Dominic's, as Scott Williams. I did file adoption papers for him, but during the time when I filed the adoption papers, I traveled to America.
And did that stop his?
And that stopped the adoption paper because I was in America and my husband alone was home.
So when did it continue after a while, the adoption papers?
Yes, we still think because they had to wait until I come back home. When I come back home, the adoption people used to come and visit and whatever. And then in 1973, it was officially adopted.
So that's your first child.
Yes.
Through adoption, your cousin's
Mhm.
child. And what about the other children you had from the marriage? Your two
Oh.
girls and 2 boys.
Well, 2 boys and 2 girls, they're all there. They always, up to now, they always claim him as the oldest brother.
What are the names of your children?
Adrian, Fabian, Aixia, and Nicole.
And do you have grandchildren from those children?
Yes.
Tell us about the grandchildren.
Well, my grandchildren, well, I get grandchildren first from Aixia. Aixia traveled to Trinidad, to America. They all came to America in 1977, with the exception of Kurt. Kurt said he wanted to stay home still, whatever. He came back, he came up a year after them. My children traveled to come to America, Carnival Sunday, 1977.
You've got a fabulous memory. It's amazing. Now, when the children came, did they adjust easily to life in America?
Yes, they did adjust it very easily.
And they all pursued their education.
They did pursue their education.
Now, you were telling us about the grandchildren. How many grandchildren do you have? From Aixie, you had your first grandchild. Tell us about the others.
I had Danielle. She born the 23rd of August, 1977. Francine born 1978, June 1st. Then Keith Jr. born lower down, I can't remember the year. And Tashika
So 4 grandchildren.
from Aixia. Not until Fabian had his first child when he was going to college. His name is Brent. And now he has 2 other children. He wasn't married to Brent's mother, but they was college friends.
Right. So that's 7 so far.
And I have 2 by Adrian. boy and a girl. Adrian Jr., we calls him AJ, and Aliyah. He also has two extended sons by his wife. She had two children before she met him. They was born somewhere in Trinidad. But they live in America with me.
And do you have any great grands?
I have three great grands, and all are Daniel's children. Shaquille Williams, and she married now, so Shaquille's father died. So she's married to Rodney Shepherd, but he takes her name. He carry Rodney William Shepherd.
That's interesting. Now, one of your granddaughters was
Francine,
was killed. Tell us,
she got killed.
tell us about that.
She had a boyfriend, and I don't know. They say he shot her in the elevator of their building.
How old was she? How old was Francine?
She died in February, around Carnival time. I think it was Carnival Sunday, whatever. He died. I think the Monday would have been Carnival Monday, and she would have been 18 in June, the 1st of June. She died before her 18th birthday.
What year was that? Do you remember what year?
I can't remember the year right now. No?
But it's about 5 years ago.
Yes, 5 years ago.
So that's what, 1998?
Yeah.
Okay. How did you deal with that grief?
Oh, that was hard. It was really hard on me and the whole family anyway. Because when her uncles came from Massachusetts, Adrian and Fabian, when Fabian reached in the funeral home, he couldn't take it. Because that was his favorite niece.
And how did her mother take it, Alexia?
Oh, she took it very hard. She took it very hard. She was very bitter. She took it very
Who
hard.
was very bitter?
Huh?
Who was very bitter?
Alexia was very bitter.
Okay.
She took it hard. I thank God that she's a praying soul. And she really believed in God's promises. That's what caused her to survive. Because after Francine died, Kid Jr. dropped out of school because he couldn't deal with it. But since then, he joined the Job Corps and he was in Monticello for a time. You know, people that spend 3 and 4 years in job. He spent 1 year and he finished. He basic education. He got his diploma and also got a diploma in electrical wiring. So he's back home now after a year. He got his diploma. He didn't get what is it called? The substitute for the thing, but he well.
Got the high the award that he
Yeah,
very good.
the well award.
Now, when you look back at life's opportunities, do you have any regrets? If you do, tell us.
No, I have no regrets. I have to bless God for Jesus that my children stuck out and they taken their education. Fabian has a BA in psychology. Nicole has a BA in psychology. Adrian was in the United States Marines. He reached up to Lance Corporal and he out. He doing security work. But then he sat exams for the fire service, which he came out in with high honor. He's police, the regular police force. He sat, he passed with high honor. And now they call him back to take some exam again with the fire service again. He tell me he's going to go. I said, what you going to do? You ain't taking yourself to thing to one. He said, Mommy, I go pursue nursing.